Right. Hey, y'all. Good evening. So I am done with the readings for the night. I kind of got a late start today, and I'm hoping that my sound is okay. Let me go and charger. Um, yeah. All right. All right. Okay, y'all. I'm back. I had to grab my charger, and I'm hoping and that you guys can hear me because I am in my kitchen. And yeah, so I want to talk about um, my vision of the future. My vision of the future. Um, and, you know, how I feel that eventually there's going to be an advanced understanding about people that are possessed. Okay, people that are under possession of entities, spirits that make them extremely dangerous to the public. And I want to talk about that. So I really, really enjoyed the social distancing thing of the um, of that pandemic. I don't like what was going on during the pandemic, but I did really love the idea of that because that gave people the chance to social distance and start to think and start to actually look at the world. Now, do I believe that our government was being completely honest with us about what was really going on? No, I really don't. I think that it's a spiritual thing. I think that it goes much deeper than that. And I think that it's more than obvious that as an individual, you have to protect yourself. And so when it comes to women, women are, are extremely or can be extremely vulnerable. I think that men need to really, really get a better. Okay. People need to get a better understanding of what's actually going on in the world and start looking at things the that High Priestess Jamila, who is a woman, born a woman, would actually have to be out here slaying demons. Like, it's very strange and unusual, but I want people to actually understand what it is that I do for a living. And it's probably because, well, it was meant to be with all that Age of Aquarius stuff because, and I have no doubt my mind, uh, uh, like I believe exorcisms of the really, really bad. Okay, y'all. So I got to get into this story. I got to get into this movie that I watched last night called The Mist. And I was absolutely floored by this movie. Netflix, and out like it's absolutely crazy because what happens is that it somehow results in these look like, and so for this movie, so because they get stuck at the grocery store and it's all kind. I mean, that movie was and a half, right? So they get stuck at a grocery store. They finally escape. Go back to where his wife. You know, they had her in like creatures, and they had like a creature, and then weird. What happened with that? I don't know what happened. So, so basically, this man shoots. You know, they all agreed to be shot, and so he shoots his son, the woman that was with them, and the two older people. And so he steps outside of the car and he starts screaming at the monster to come and get him because he's upset because you know that this is a bad thing, right? So he's very upset. And the next thing you know, he's waiting on this creature to come back to kill him. And instead, the entire military rolls past him and they have civilians that they have picked up and saved. In fact, at the beginning of the movie, there was a woman in the movie that was stuck in the grocery store with them. And she was like, I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying? My kids are at home by themselves. And so in the movie, when you're watching it, it's like, why would you leave an 8-year-old at home? And she was like, I told them I'd only be gone for a few minutes. I have to go get my kids. She actually made it. They show her on the back of the military truck being taken to safety. And so it just goes to show like the movie is a trip. You should see it. It's a good watch because it shows how, first of all, you should never give up. And then also you should have faith, but you shouldn't be judgmental. So the movie is like all like you know, in other words, you know, it's like a message in the movie. And so I think that when it comes to female energy, I think that it is very important. And I think that this feminine energy cannot be necessarily compromised by, that patriarchal dogma. You know what I'm saying? That's just like, for example, if I'm going to have a man in my life, it's because I love him and I truly want to be with him, not because I need him or I don't want to be judged by the world. You know what I'm saying? Like never, ever, ever. So I don't work that way. That ain't how I get down. So it's a trip. Y'all should see it. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there are people walking around this world literally under possession by terrible spirits that are causing harm, hunger, death, destruction. And, when you see somebody that has those kinds of spirits on them, you have to speak up and say something. You can't just not say anything. And so women are being forced and put in a position to rebuke these people, because if you notice, especially when times get hard or when times get bad, women themselves end up being targeted, women and children, by these certain entities. For example, on YouTube, you have to ask yourself, what kind of world do we live in when you have business owners on here, such as myself? I am not only a Black-owned business, but I am I'm a female with a very, very important business that I run. Okay? You would think that in the world that we live in, that people would have an understanding as to why you should not try to, do harm to a person like that. Because honestly, before I started doing what I do, before I started my company, I was doing it anyway. I've always been the type of person, I've always been that person. I've always had it in me. It's always been a calling for me in life, which is why people like me tend to attract, these types of broken people. In this society, we have men or women, and they have certain energies and entities attached to them. And they are on a rampage. They are on the attack. Really, the only actual spiritual defense that we have, is our voice in the situation. And so, it sucks that we're all put in this melting pot, and then according to race, we are told who we should have to deal with and what energies we should have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? For example, there are certain people that have horrible energies on them, horrible, okay? And they target people. Especially when it comes to women and children. It is very, very perplexing to me because, growing up, it was something that you couldn't have convinced me that I would live in a world where, people actually feel that they have the right to attack you at any moment, anytime they want. It's like your image, yourself, your energy doesn't even belong to you. And I think that eventually, I feel that what's going to happen eventually is that they are going to start deeming those types of people that are doing that factually as zombies. I really do, because that's pretty much what we're looking at. Is we're looking at like a zombie apocalypse or something. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you on here on YouTube. And when I say breathing the same airspace, okay, these energies can affect people. You can be affected energetically by a person like that, and you don't even have to be in the same room as them. So when you're sharing an airspace, the internet is an airspace. That's still a way for these particular entities that are in these people to communicate with you. And communication is everything. This is the reason why there have been cases of extremely harmful people that have been banned from using the internet. So, it's not just about, it's not just about somebody, being in the same room as you. They don't have to be in the same room as you. They can just share an airspace with you, which, the internet is space, it's air, it's ether. And I think that eventually, I know that I've asked myself time and time again, why does it seem like there is a disrespect of people that are progressive that don't want to be connected with non-progressive people? Who wants to be connected with somebody that is non-progressive, especially if that person is not, number one, not progressive, not educated, filled with demons, and constantly pinpointing you? You know what I'm saying? Like that to me sucks. And I feel that eventually our government is going to get on this stuff, because it's completely unfair. I mean, now there's also there's also this series that is on Netflix called, what is it called? The Land of Make Believe, and it's talking about the internet, in particular the gaming community, which can be very, very toxic. And if you watch it, it is a trip, because it's almost like you're being forced to be amongst certain people that not only have tons and tons and tons and tons of struggle in their life, but then as a woman, then you're made vulnerable to certain decrees of men that you don't want to be bothered with. Hey, Miss Ferry. Hello. Good evening. How you doing? And it sucks. It sucks so bad. So the question is, how do you protect your airspace? Because it's not just men, it's not just sexism, it's also racism sometimes, okay? Which is something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but that's just sort of like the reality of this world, you know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, I felt more harm be done to me just in general, by this whole, sexism thing, to where I felt like, hey, listen, I am running a business. It does not matter what your opinion is of the business that I run. Obviously, I am vetted with the Most High. And that is why I am still in business. So what is the deal with being mixed in with that? And why isn't there any restriction on that? I don't, I understand that people have freedom of speech and all of that stuff, but I think that some people can, some people can go too far with their freedom of speech. And, I think that as a woman, I want to be protected from that. And if nobody is going to protect me, my company, I have the right to speak for my company. I have the right to practice my constitutionally protected right of spirituality and religion without constantly being harassed by anybody, and that includes religious people. We all have that right. Why is that right constantly being violated? Does our government truly know how bad it is? Because I'm going to keep it above with y'all. I have seen plenty of religious I have seen plenty of religious people, God bless their souls, with the curse of Cain on them. And, I'm a spiritualist that believes in the Bible. I believe that a lot of that stuff happened. I don't believe necessarily that I have to apply the whole story to myself, but I believe that it happened. The curse of Cain is basically the evil eye, because Cain killed Abel because of his jealousy. So what does that mean? That means that I don't want to share necessarily an airspace with somebody, because there's a difference between being Christian and actually working the religion and keeping it real than being somebody that is ignorant, that is dumbed down, that walks around with every biblical curse on them, just being able to breathe on me. I mean, do y'all understand what I'm saying? Because people don't realize, especially with women, and I think that they need to start protecting the empathic psychics. We deserve to have some kind of protection or some kind of rights, because first of all, we're women. And that doesn't mean, oh, well, then, if you're a woman and you feel, some type of way, then, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. No, maybe people should learn to behave, and maybe we need to set some standards when it comes to that. Maybe that's what needs to start happening. People can still be violated via the internet. A person can violate you via the internet. Negative energy is negative energy. Okay, especially when somebody has an intent to hate on you, an intent to hate on you. And then what are you going to do? I'm the type of person that just minds my own business. I don't come on the internet to just hate on people all day and all night. I just don't do those types of things. It doesn't serve me to do those things. Now, I will defend myself, but there are certain people that are under possession by these demons, and we speak about this all the time on this channel, about how they project those energies onto other people. And whether or not they are doing it consciously or subconsciously, but to be honest with you, that's pretty much what they're doing. If somebody just, all of a sudden starts to attack you on the internet, you know what that means? That means that they have an issue within themselves. Listen, okay, unless somebody is trying to tell you, hey, don't attack people, and if you're obviously doing something that is wrong or causing suffering to people, and people say, hey, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. But if you're minding your own business and you got people that's all up in your personal space, your personal airspace, and they got all these damn demons on them, these demons are either very scary to them, these demons are tearing down their whole life, have already ripped their lives apart. And you know what they get to do? They get to come online and they get to spread this around like a virus. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Eventually, they're going to start doing something about it. They are already talking about it a lot. Electronic harassment, things of that nature. It can cause a lot of different issues in a person. It can. And we all know that. So then what's the holdup? What's the issue? These people that are running around here possessed, they would probably not get any attention at all. Like, I'm talking about at all, unless they came, and in a lot of ways, it is a cry for help. But these days, it's all about self-help, or unless you can afford to go to either a psychiatrist or a spiritualist to get some help for yourself. Okay, and it is really, really irritating. So a lot of people say, well, why don't you talk to God? But see, yeah, and I do talk to God about it. I talk to God about it all the time. I talk to several gods about it. But it needs to trickle down to the judicial system. It needs to trickle down to that, because these people, they're never going to get help. They're never going to make themselves better as long as they are being allowed to do that. There is a fine line between making a video response to somebody and stalking them long term. Why are these possessed people being allowed at all to stalk people? They are being allowed to do it. Why isn't our government doing anything about it? Why do they not do anything? That's just like in 2015 over there in Wichita, somebody had gotten shot. Somebody had gotten killed by the SWAT team. Somebody swatted their house. This man was murdered. Now, probably like less than a year later, I believe it was his daughter, somebody in his family had committed suicide. So that just exposes the issues that may have already been there, honestly, because it was already an unfortunate event, and I totally understand and empathize with this young lady's her pain surrounding what had happened. But it kind of exposes, to me, it exposes a curse. And so people are in such deep denial, and they'll just say, well, that's just how the world is, instead of saying, that's just how people make their world. So for me personally, spiritually, and all of that, I have love for all people, but I don't want to have to come and just automatically have to deal with people that are so demonically possessed that they can actually cause a person to vomit. When I first moved into this house, it was some shit going on online, and I literally went to the bathroom and vomited. It's very, and when I'm gonna tell y'all something, there's something spiritual about vomiting, because that's exactly what I had to do. I felt like I had ingested something that was thrown at me in my spirit, and not food. It was something that my spirit had ingested, and my body said, we're gonna turn this into physical matter, and we are gonna get rid of this. So it was able to leave my body. But what is up with people not understanding that? And so, I think that people need to realize that we need more, because I feel like something's gonna get very soon. Because I feel like there's so many resources that are now being put in to the result of negative and possessed people. Because if it, some of these channels on here, I'm gonna tell you something. Some of these channels are filled with bad spirits and bad energy, and I don't want them to touch me. If it is a content creator that has a lot of negative stuff going on, I don't want no parts of that. Because for me, what I can pick up on is all of the energy, and it is extremely overwhelming to deal with that kind of negativity. And you can't just expect for a woman, especially, women are built differently than men. We are. And so for me, if I get some negative energy thrown at me at all, I'm throwing it back. I'm throwing it back. You know what I'm saying? So it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult, being on YouTube as a Black woman, running a business, and then having to deal with spiritually possessed Black males. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And it's horrifying. And why isn't anything being done about it? Why isn't anything honestly being done about it on a judicial level? As it, and all of us are not equally yoked. It's like, okay, it'd be different if we were equally yoked. We're not in the same soul group. I don't recognize you. So then why are you here? Why, it's so weird. And to me, they feel like space invaders. Nothing about it feels familiar. Like I said, I had some issues 2 years ago to the point where I had to throw up. I literally I literally had to go to the bathroom and puke. It's so toxic. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, I'm not used to that toxic energy. And I think that everything happens for a reason. I think that my experience with dealing with it for an extra 2 or 3 years, when I felt like this should have been over, I feel like something needs to be done about it, at least some type of understanding of it, at the very least, some type of understanding. And then also, let's keep it all the way above. There are some of the vloggers on here, like I watch a lot of people that I really, really like. They make sense to me. They honestly do. But then there's some people on here that I don't recognize and see, because what I see is a person's spirits. That's all I see. When you have spirits and entities on you that literally want to do harm to me, that's what I can see, and that is what I can recognize right off the bat. So and I think that people need to be more aware. For example, a lot of the people that even come to me to get spiritual work, they recognize me as a spirit guide or a spiritual teacher or somebody that they can trust. And so that's your intuition. But what my intuition tells me about some of these people on here, they're not judging me by my color. They're not judging me by any of that. They're just going by their intuition of what they can feel and the connection that they feel with me. I don't come on here and judge people based upon whether or not they're Black or white. You know why? I'm not going to come on here and just automatically give credibility to, for example, a Black man just because he's a Black man. To me, nobody is neither Black or white. It is all about their spirits. It is all about their spirits and their auric field. At the end of the day, that's what my That's what I recognize first. I don't recognize people as colors. I recognize them energetically. So I'm not going to automatically just show respect and, give veneration to somebody, for example, just because they're black or white. I'm going to go by what I feel and what my spirit guides are saying to me. How many do you want, baby? 2. Okay. I'm going to go by that. I'm not going to go by, and I think people need to stop doing that too. People need to stop doing that. People need to stop judging books by their cover and look deeper. Okay, because looks can be deceiving. And y'all know that I'm one of those people that really, really feels, I'm going to tell y'all something. I feel confident in saying that there are some people that are demons in disguise, because, for me, I recognize people also by their behavior, their human behavior. You know what I'm saying? And as a woman, my only job, you know what my job is as a woman? My job is to make sure that I handle my business with my clients. But at the end of the day, at the base of that, my job as a woman is to take care of myself and my offspring. If something threatens that, I am coming at you like a lion. You are going to hear from me. And that's the way that it should be. Instead, what's been happening is that there's been a judgment. Like, people will have a certain amount of judgment. I think personally, and I've even empathized with people on here that I don't like, but I've empathized with them because I've said, you know what, I know exactly what they are dealing with, exactly the type of energy that they're dealing with that they don't want to be bothered with. So there shouldn't be any judgment of that. Understand that on these YouTube streets, we are dealing with some seriously diabolical people. And so a lot of people, like for me, I'm not the type of person that deserves for somebody to wish death on me. I'm not. Okay. That and I'm not a narcissistic person at all. I just, you know what I'm saying? Because, I do a lot for people. If I were on here doing some of the things that people do, and we're not just going to say, oh, well, we're going to expect that type of behavior because it's a male, or we're going to expect that type of behavior because it's this and that. And as a Black woman, aren't you used to that? No, actually, I'm not. No, actually, I'm not used to that. Especially when it comes to I think that being on the internet can make you more vulnerable energetically to bad spirits that are on people. Because guess what? Those spirits are unfamiliar to you. That's just like, I don't have the best relationship with my father at all. Like we butt heads. We are like butt heads. Okay. We do not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to start speaking on my father, even though I know what the problem is with him. That doesn't mean, on the flip side of that, my entire life, you know what I saw my father doing? I saw my father getting up every day, going to work. And I can at least accredit him to that. I have never in my life saw my father not working and earning his keep. On YouTube, we are being exposed to pimps, drug addicts, drug dealers, crazy people, psychopaths, sociopaths, and we're empaths. That's what we're dealing with. And I just think that kind of toxic energy, I'm not going to bow down to it. And so I feel like as a woman, we're usually the last ones talking because we have to, especially for me, let's keep it a buck. There are demons on this platform and on the internet that are seriously on my behind. And they're not my curse. I don't recognize that energy, but they're still there. And so what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Why does it continue to go on and on? Why are these disadvantaged people that are possessed by entities, why are they able to just take a person's image, take a person's child's image, and put it on display and exploit them? I think that our government, I think that this website needs to bring in more restrictive laws about internet trafficking. You see it all the time. You see people that have a following, whether or not that following is very large or very big or very small. You see people with a following, and then you always see another aspect of it, which is people that are following them and critiquing them. Okay, that's fine. But what if it goes beyond that? What if what if that person is trying to throw stuff at you because they don't want to suffer alone? Like, of course, for me, I know exactly what to do. I'm gonna do a graveyard dirt jar, and sometimes I have to light it up. It's been few and far between with these psychic attacks until I figured out how to do it. By the way, there are several herbs that will help you with that, especially slippery elm bark. Any herb that helps with communication, mugwort, alum will help. These are the type of herbs that will help psychic attacks as well as spoken attacks. You know what I'm saying? It's so bad that you got people on here that they don't have any respect or boundaries. We need more boundaries when it comes to this website. We need more boundaries when it comes to the internet, period. And I think that at some point, our government is going to have to take it more seriously. And they need to realize who the aggressor is, AKA the trafficker. They need to figure out who the trafficker is and who is the person that is simply defending themselves. We are affected by communication and by words, and some of us worse than others. Okay, our reputations can be affected by that. Why aren't the bad people being apprehended and reprimanded for doing this consistently, especially when it comes to me? I am here on behalf of Divine Services, and it's now Divine Services Apothecary. That is who sponsors my channel, which is the company that I created and started myself. My entity that I deal with is Divine. That's my entity. Divine Services Apothecary is me. It doesn't have to be an LLC. It can be a sole proprietorship. That is what we are. And we are made up of angels, spirits, deities, ancestors. But then you got other people's channels that are made up of parasites, venom, sludge, slime, guilt and regret and pain and suffering. As an entity, Divine Services Apothecary, I have the right to refuse free service to you. It's almost like a free for all, a free service. And it sucks. And it just, people get away with it because it's that gray area. It's that invisible pink. It's an invisible pink elephant in the room that people know about, but they just don't really speak about it. Because I have seen people come on this website, start their channels and start doing readings. I've encouraged people to do it. People that I felt would be pretty good readers, and they start getting attacked on this channel, or not on this channel, but on this website, they'll start being attacked. You know what I'm saying? And it always happens. It always happens. You know, at first I felt like, well, it's some kind of initiation. Well, it's, you know, and so sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just somebody being disrespectful that has no spiritual connection with you. Uh, that, you know, and I don't believe it. You know, it's where people will try to be connected with you that shouldn't be. That's just like me. I don't bother anybody. All I do is protect myself. If somebody is choosing to light candles on me back to back, that's their relationship. That's their carbon footprint, has nothing to do with me. But for me, what I have been focused on is, you know, just the resources that has to be put into that, and it shouldn't be that way. I think that if we are actually going to have laws set up to protect people on the internet, which is ether and air communication, I think that people should abide by them. I think that they are allowing some of these people to slip through the cracks. And it's time to stop that. You know, a lot of that cruelty has already served its purpose. It served its purpose, and everybody has moved on and moved beyond it. But you got certain entities that want more and more and more. They want more. They want more. They want more. And, you know, that's just like this whole thing to where people will start beefs to get their channels popping. Once you start that beef, which I don't necessarily agree with that, I think if you just do search engine optimization, you should be good. You know, but once you get it popping, then take off like a rocket and keep going. What's going on with these people that, you know, this is what their channel rests on, is bullying and harassing people and spiritually attacking people? What's up with that? Why does YouTube allow them to be here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've almost lost my channels before because of dealing with it. But it's like, listen, I'm an empath. If somebody is sending me negative energy, even if they're sending it to me behind the scenes, I'm going to pick up on it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it back at them. The quickest way to do that is with air energy. The quickest way to banish a bad spirit is with air energy. Why do we have spiritually possessed males online attacking people instead of getting the help that they need? Why do we have that? It's obvious that there's some kind of spiritual sickness going on. Obviously, something going on. Why isn't anything being done about it? And whose job is it to do something about it? Is it my job? No, my job is just to protect myself and the people that I love and care about. That's my job. My job is not, you know, that's too much. That's just like being the 10 of wands, where all of this burden is being put on you to do something that shouldn't even be your job. You know, at least it should be a community thing. But unfortunately, the community as a whole is typically against each other. That's all I'm saying. I think eventually there is going to be advancements in that, to where, you know, if somebody does that and they repeatedly do it repeatedly, and a person is showing and saying over and over again, they're, you know, they're, if a person is saying, I don't want this interaction with you at all, nor will I want it in the future, I think that you as a woman or a male, you have the right to make that choice. You have the right to say, I don't want an interaction with you now, nor in the future, ever. it's okay for you to make those judgment calls. Because not only are you making those judgment calls, but it may possibly be, your spirit guides. That's just like there's some people on here, and we're not speaking of people that I've spoke about, but there's some people on here that I would never, ever, 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 ever want to commune with. Not ever. Now, what if that person just decided, okay, I'm going to try to violate your person as much as possible? Because after the community has failed to protect, because the community failed to protect a long time ago, because a lot of people are just out for themselves, then okay, how about we have somebody step in to provide enforcement for that? Because some of us, let's keep it a buck, there are some people that, like I said, I ain't nobody's kick toy. I ain't nobody's joke. Don't you ever do that. It's something that triggers me a lot. Don't do that. Why is it that when a woman says stop, no, and don't, she's being judged because of it? Well, maybe perhaps either the community needs to do something about it. That's just like if you're a woman and you walk out your house every day to walk down to the train station or the bus stop, and there's some filthy, mangled, somebody that just, why should you have to take on that person's energy? And who is actually there to protect you? I understand God and the angels can protect you, but why isn't the standard, why isn't the bar being raised on this at all? It's throwing everything out of whack. It throws everything off. And I think that trying to interrupt somebody's transmission, which is their connection with the universe, let's keep it a buck, the World Wide Web is our connection to the universe. Where the hell is Star Trek when you need it? Seriously, the internet police. Where is the air police at? I mean, I work with St. Michael all the time. But it's like, when you got people that are invaders, we need to start looking at this and actually make it a crime and actually do something about it. People shouldn't have the right to have problems and issues and just come online and just throw it at random people. I mean, there's some people on the internet that you may have a connection with, okay? But if it's just somebody that got they may have spirits on them that's getting ready to take them out, and they just get to come online and just pick and choose somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that's their intent. Their intent is to send to you the hunger and the struggle of their own people. And imagine being a woman already being vulnerable, having children, and then being extra vulnerable, and then people saying, well, maybe you shouldn't have had children. I've been a mother for 22 years. Why is there no boundaries? That's all I'm saying. So I believe that, which is why I've been purchasing more mirrors. I believe that mirrors are going to be the key to that. I think that that's going to be an extremely valuable spiritual tool when somebody is reflecting. They're bad energy to you that, you know, you can't necessarily see it unless you have a spiritual eye. You know what I'm saying? You can't really see it, but you can feel it and you know it's there. This is how people can be affected by other people's energy. You don't necessarily see energy unless you have like some kind of conduit, like a candle. Then you'll be able to see energy. You'll be able to see energy in smoke. You know, you can see energy in the elements, but air is invisible. So there needs to be some kind of advancements. Otherwise, you know, because I mean, you know, I am a go-getter. I am a progressive woman. You know, I don't want to constantly be compromised or have my personal space, my personal and my professional space violated by these space invaders. So it may be something that I need to go into deep meditation for, what's been working for me, because you know, at any given moment, you know, you can have somebody that is obsessed with you, that may be talking about you, that may be saying things about you, and you may not necessarily pick up on it, or you may be able to sense it, but it's something that is so far removed, and you've created this space for yourself of protection to where it's like, you know, and I think it's easier for men to do that, but for women, it's not. We are different. That's just like if you look at a married couple, like, or just a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Typically, if somebody is throwing their own personal bad energy on that person, the woman is going to be the one to pick up on it first. Why? Because women are naturally intuitive. I'm not going to go and take a medication or drug myself. You know, I may have a glass of wine or something to relax and be able to go into meditation, or, you know, easier, but I'm not going to you know, completely you know, kill my intuition just because certain people don't know how to behave, or they are bad people. I think that bad people on the internet truly need to be dealt with. That's where I'm at these days. And you know, I've been needing to. I probably should have, you know, probably about 3 years ago, I could have hired an attorney, because I have the right as a business owner, as an entity, to protect the best interests of my company. You know what I'm saying? So it's terrible. It really is. And it's like like people that are dealing with possession, it's like they're constantly at war. It's like, this not a war. I'm sitting here about to eat dinner and watch Netflix. I'm not at war. Why, what's up with these people that are at war? Okay, if you're at war and you have inner conflict, deal with it within yourself. Nobody's at war. People are living their lives, relaxing, chilling, taking care of their homes, taking care of their families. But you got certain people that are at war with themselves. They got all kind of demons roaming through their body, their spirit, their etheric space, and so they just get to come and just harass people because they're at war. You know, your inner conflict doesn't necessarily have to become someone else's. So it's so bizarre, you know. And I can tell you honestly, probably like I'd say the first 4 years that I had started my business and moved to Georgia, I was cleansing myself constantly, because I think that we all can pick up certain entities and stuff that attach to us throughout the years. But for me, being a responsible person, I was like, I want to deal with those issues. And as soon as I dealt with those issues, I began to grow. My business got bigger and bigger and bigger. It began to grow like a flower. It was beautiful the way that it happened. Then you have other people that are at war with themselves. They messed up and they feel like, oh, well, I can see that she's growing. Let me go over here and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, spiritually you can be protected from it, but that should not be, a person shouldn't have to get up every day and constantly be looking over their shoulder, because I've never lived my life like that and I don't intend to start. I've never been a criminal. I've never, sold anything. I've never done things like that. So I shouldn't have to be looking over my shoulder and constantly trying to check my back all the time of somebody that's trying to, come in any of those, cracks or holes that they can get into, trying to crawl out from underneath a rock or find some kind of way in. You know what I'm saying? That to me is disgusting. And let's keep it a buck. There are a lot of people that get angry about some of the things that I discussed, but they have to be discussed. There's people out there that need my inspiration. That's just like that discussion that I had. There's a lot of people that just bring children into this world to just torture them and hurt them and abuse them. People need my input and my energy and my inspiration so that they can heal from that or deal with that or stand up to that. And there are certain people that get mad, but you know what? I do that for a reason. I do that for a reason because God has called me to do that. So, anyway, I wanted to come and speak about that. Y'all let me know what y'all think of that in the comment section. I'm going to eat me a little snack or whatever because, hold on a second. I have noticed that during the day, I've been sort of in a fasting state, which is something that I don't need to do. I know that I could use, I could lose weight, probably about 20 pounds, would do me well to lose that weight, that, maybe that extra 20 pounds that I need to lose. But honestly, I don't feel comfortable with that fasting. But for some reason, it's been so much negativity to the point where during the day, I'm sort of in this fasting state. And I really honestly don't like that. I like to get up in the morning. I like to have either some avocado toast and an egg or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be, to me, it's just really, it's really crazy. Okay, it is. And I think that people are crazy. And I think that, I think that we need to really, really look at like now, like not from anything that's happened in the past, but we need to figure out why today it's happening. Why is it today? And last year it was sort of like the green light was given, and by who, I don't know, for certain males to try to dominate complete strange women on social media that they have no connection with. Because I'm gonna tell you something, I'll pull down my swords. I am very respectful of men that are respectful and kind to me. The moment that you start stepping and you start acting crazy, I will pull out my swords. I'm not going to pull out my swords on the people in my life, but I'm talking about as a spiritual thing, because I do have swords in my living room. I did have them up in my bed. They're not real swords. They're not sharpened or anything. You make a good point, Jackie. It is. Oh, thank you for bringing that up, Jackie. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't want to have to be bothered with or share a consciousness with a person that is on hard drugs. Marijuana is different. Even though marijuana can sometimes make people paranoid, but marijuana is different. Nothing causes more paranoia than crack cocaine. We're forgetting about that. And other drugs, it totally makes people paranoid, especially crack cocaine. Can make people totally paranoid. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I don't want to be in that consciousness. I don't. And I actually built an altar. I built an altar with my clear skull that is surrounded by candles and stuff and stones to because I don't want my consciousness being afflicted by that. Because why? Because drugs are bad for not only the mind but the body as well as the soul. So yeah, you're right about that. And it is the drugs that they're on, and it causes this real desperate energy. No woman and her business and her family should ever for 1 second be compromised because of some crazy male that decided to smoke drugs. That shouldn't even be happening at all. But I guess if when you think about it, whatever drug that they're on, even if it's a medication that they're taking from the doctor that's causing side effects, I am very well aware of those side effects being projected intentionally onto other people. So, for example, if they go on a bad drug trip, instead of them getting off of that drug or making a better choice, I don't know, maybe getting some herbs, what they'll do is they'll project all those side effects to people. So I'm very aware of that. I'm a thinker. I'm ruled mainly by Mercury and the moon. So I have a lot of Mercury and a lot of moon, and then also a lot of Venus in my chart. And so, I've sensed that and picked up on that. Oh, I did this and this done made me feel paranoid and delusional and crazy. So I got to go and pass this to somebody else. And that's what they're doing. And because for me, I stay at a delta. Unless I'm cleaning up or something, I stay at a delta. I don't, I stay at a sort of like a lucid delta state, unless because I feel like it's we've got the plexiverse, the omniverse, and the universe, which is what connects you with your spirits. For me, what my spirits are constantly doing is they're constantly moving in, moving out, moving in, moving out. It's a circle. That's what they're doing. And so, that energy right there, and it's constantly filtering bad things out. It's constantly just the way that my universe works. And so then you got folks that, you got these other entities, and then they all of a sudden they showing up. That's just like if you look at the rings of Saturn, and let's say that because I like to think of my universe as almost like the rings of Saturn. And they say that there's a ring around Jupiter too, I think. But let's say that those rings around Saturn and Jupiter, they're moving around, and they're there for a purpose. So you got this circle, you got this vortex, and imagine some fool. Yeah, you just going there, standing there, and it's like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? What the hell are you doing here? And it's extremely disturbing. They're just like the other night, I managed to watch that movie called The Mist. I had to stop the movie for a minute because dealing with that movie, and then it was somebody that was far off that was trying to tap into my consciousness. Why would you be trying to tap into somebody else's consciousness? And so I think that that's me sensing and picking up on people doing readings on me. And I don't like that. I don't like, you know, it depends on who you are, you know, and so that within itself, because, you know, that's just like, you know, unless I have a good reason, I'm not throwing no cards on nobody. I'm not doing readings on people. So it's just is really weird. And, you know, I don't know. I just thought that I would kind of throw that out there at y'all to kind of give y'all an understanding of how ether and air can affect us. And it's kind of like air is really difficult to control unless you're going to use some kind of earth energy to block it, which is why witches, which is why we use graveyard dirt, which is why we use stones. Because, you know, I just want it blocked. I don't, you know, I don't want that bad air. It's like bad air quality coming to me, you know what I'm saying? It's like a pollution. Some people can be like an air pollutant, literally, because of their mind, you know, the words that they're saying, their intentions, their thoughts are very polluted. And it just, and they, you know, go figure, they'll have some kind of focus on you. And you're like, wait a minute, this is unfamiliar to me. You know, that's just like, I swear to y'all, I was picking up on somebody that's constantly worried about dying. I'm going to say this before I go. Constantly worried about death and dying. In my consciousness, because I grew up like that, I grew up kind of like in that morbid environment to where, so for me, I built up a resistance to that. And I don't sit around worrying about dying. I don't. Like, if you sit around worrying about when you gonna die, you ain't gonna never live. So that's how I look at that. That's my thought process. That's my mind when it comes to that. But there's some people that are constantly worried about dying. And if you're constantly worried about dying, that's something that you need to change. But I felt like it was being projected, those projected thoughts, those projected subconscious and conscious thoughts were being projected to me. Don't project that to me. I don't have a fear of dying alone. I don't have a fear of dying, you know, broken or feeling, you know, I feel, you know, 1000% trust that, you know, because I think that for a lot of people, especially with me, but for a lot of people, you know, nobody wants to, you know, pass away without making sure that their children are secure in this world. You know, I honestly, there's some people that don't want to pass away at all, but at least if it does happen, you want to make sure that you have put all your ducks in the row and make sure that you have laid out the best possible foundation for your children. I mean, you have the right to live beyond that as a parent, as far as like making sure that that is there and then living your life and having longevity. But for me, you know, it's not a thought process that bothers me, so I don't have that issue. But I felt like it was being projected to me, and somebody was blaming me for that fear. And it's like, well, I don't, you know, I work with Santa Muerta. I don't necessarily have that fear. And it's not that bad to where it's like, oh my God, I got to bang my head up against the wall. Trust me. You know, because I've dealt with a lot of spiritual stuff. So it's like a small thing. In fact, you know, I do quite a bit of, you know, I meditate daily for at least 30 minutes, you know, at least 30 minutes. So, and I think that is one thing that can help, you know, putting the herbs in the air, things like slippery elm bark is something that you should have a huge supply of it, especially if you are on the internet. That slippery elm bark is amazing because it shuts down all of that negative stuff, and you know, and kind of gets rid of it. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like, okay, you know, I don't want to, I don't want to be in that consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So if you have that issue, because I know that a lot of people have complained about that. I've seen people on YouTube, just amazing readers, amazing witches, and they have to leave because it's too negative. And so there's ways of surviving that and, healing yourself. But it does kind of make you feel like, damn, are things going to ever be normal again? Because this is not life right here. This is not what I like to think about. That's just like, I don't feel as though just, since I turned 40, I don't feel like I'm dying because I turned 40. I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm getting better. I feel, in fact, so I don't think that way. So if that thought process is being projected to me, I'll be like, what in the world is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna get too deep into that though. But anyway. All right, y'all. I will catch y'all later. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I'll be back tomorrow or either at the witching hour with the rest of the readings for y'all. Um, anyway, I'll catch y'all later. Okay, blessings to you guys.